Right then, let's get into the settings. Apologies, by the way, I probably should have said in the intro, for sounding a little bit husky today. It was the R6 community LAN last night in my hometown of Stoke-on-Trent. Never did I think I'd get a good chunk of the Siege community to come to Stoke. I never thought that would happen. So we were out last night. I obviously had the LAN during the day. We were out last night. I got in about 4:30 this morning. So I'm a little bit husky. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I don't feel too bad. Although, for any of you that are old enough to drink, have you ever had that, like when you wake up in the morning and you feel you've not got a hangover and you're like, you've escaped the hangover. But then what happens is about sort of 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it just hits you like a truck and you're like, oh my God, okay, yeah, I am hungover. Whereas when you wake up and you feel a bit rough right as soon as you wake up, you can deal with it. Excuse me, you sort of get over it later in the day. Whereas I haven't quite felt like it yet. So I don't know whether I've escaped it completely because it's 2 o'clock now. So I don't know whether I'm completely out of the woods, but who knows, maybe I won't be. Anyway, we're not here to talk about hangovers. Maybe I'll make a video on that one day. I've suffered enough of them. Right, I'll go through the settings. Some of them I'll skip through because some of it's just not that important and it doesn't really matter what you use. Some I'll talk about why I use it. These are just display metrics, almost the first the first 3 here. Do you want to see your ping? Do you want to see your FPS? Do you want to see this one here, connectivity feedback? It'll pop that. You can see the pictures there. So you can either have the icon and text or just the icon. If I swap to that, no, it doesn't show you just the icons. But imagine what they look like without the text next to it. It comes down in the bottom right-hand side here, and if you're having packet loss, it'll pop up. You can change it so it doesn't say packet loss. It just shows you this symbol. Can you see my mouse? Okay, yeah. Just shows you this symbol. Right, Stun VFX. This is an interesting one. It's a really good feature that was added by Ubisoft because it's very good for accessibility for people who struggle to see certain lights and if they can't have too much light going into their eyes. I actually think that if you use dark glare, it's better than if you use white glare, but I don't use dark glare. I'll tell you for why. So this is when you get flashbang, basically. Does your screen turn white when you flashbang, or does your screen turn black? I think the black one is easier on the eye, and if you can get used to the screen turning black, definitely use it. I can't get used to it at the minute. I've tried it, and it just freaks me out because I'm so used to seeing the screen turn white when I'm flashbanged. When it turns black, I feel like my monitor's just gone off. And I'm going to keep dipping my toe and testing the water and trying to get used to it. Sorry. I just felt, sorry, and this is not very professional mid-video, but I'm in the house on my own, and I'm absolutely adamant I've just heard the door open. Should probably edit that out, but I'm not going to. So that's what Stun VFX is. The dog's not even in. Neville's not even in. That was really weird. Thankfully, I don't think it was the door. So Stun VFX, does your screen go white or black? I still have it white because I can't get used to the black, but I feel like if you can get used to dark glare, it's probably the way to go because it's just a lot less harsh on your eyes. Like when you flashbang, you'll literally get flashbanged in real life as well. Whereas when the screen turns black, you sort of, I don't know, it's not as harsh, but I can't get used to it. Cycle inside camera groups. This means that when you're scrolling through cams, your internal and external cameras are in 2 different groups. So normally when you scroll through internal cams, you'll then have the external cams at the end and they're all one group. This, you can separate them into 2 groups. I don't really think it's that important. And I actually think it's more difficult to cycle cams when you have it on because you've got to swap groups for internal and external. Sometimes you're just like pressing Q and E trying to get to the right camera and you can't get there in time because you think, hang on, well, it's in a different group, that's why, and you've got to change the group. I don't like it, though. Obviously, it's completely subjective. Diffuser pickup, dead easy. Do you walk up to a diffuser and you have to manually pick it up by pressing a button, or do you just want to run over it and pick it up? I have it on both. So what that means is if you run over it, you'll pick it up. But if you're not close enough to run over it, you can still manually grab it. What's the best way of describing that? You know, like when you long arm the diffuser when you diffuse it, like you can be a meter away from the diffuser or so and still pick it up using the button, or you can run over it. But you won't automatically pick it up from a meter away. You've got to be directly on it for the automatic thing to work. So have it on both, because if you run over it, you'll pick it up. Or if it's like you want to just reach it from a bit further away, you can do that manually. Visible throw trajectory. There's no reason not to have this on, in my opinion. Some people might think that they know how to throw a C4 or a grenade already, which is fine. I'm sure you do. But there's no reason not to have this on. This has led to so many more C4 kills in the game because people can now squeeze C4s through like little holes in Maverick lines. Before, you could get C4s through, but the lineup, you'd mess it up sometimes. Whereas with this, now, you can make sure that the C4 is going to go through the line. There's no reason not to have that on. Drone after prep is so important. Make sure this is on manual. What this means, at the end of the prep phase, once you've finished droning, once the prep phase ends, and you're on your drone, if it's on automatic, it'll automatically come off your drone as soon as the prep phase ends. So if you're trying to put a pre-placed drone somewhere, the prep phase ends, you'll just come off your drone. You don't want that at all. You want it on manual. You don't even want it on semi-automatic either. You want it on manual. Semi-automatic means if you're watching somebody else's drone, not your own, you'll come off that when the prep phase starts. But you because you might be watching someone's drone for them to enter the building, so you don't want to have it on semi-automatic either. It's not a hardship at the end of a prep phase to press 5 on your keyboard or to press whatever drone is on your controller. I don't actually know. Match replay, do you want it to save your match replays? I have that on because there's people say it saves FPS if you turn match replay off. I have never really seen that it does. And this text channel, do you want your text on? You can just have your team, or you can have all, obviously, you can turn it off completely. I have it on all. I probably should just turn it to just team, because never really have I ever had anything good happen in the all chat from the other team. You know, it's just toxicity normally. Although I have recently, since the charms has come out, people have been quite nice to me in game when they've seen my name and said, "Oh, I've got your charm," or "Congrats on the charm." And I wouldn't have seen that if I have it turned off. So I leave it on all because I don't like ignoring people. I always want to say thank you, obviously. So if I turn that off, it would seem like I'm ignoring them, and I don't like the idea of that. So unfortunately, I have to read a lot of that comes through as well. But crossplay matchmaking. This is relevant on console. PC is not really relevant anymore. You used to play crossplay with PC and Stadia, although Stadia doesn't exist anymore. So it will be relevant, though, if crossplay still come in Year 9 Season 4, which they haven't said anything else. Right, HUD, dead easy for me here. I have it on completely normal. I know some people change is it on this setting here? I'm not sure. I think it's on display. But you can change like the HUD scaling, and I don't change anything. I just have it on completely normal. Sometimes I have to turn the HUD off to take screenshots for thumbnails and stuff. I change it to cinematic, and then I change it back. I just have it on completely normal. I think it's the best, in my opinion. I get why people might not want certain things on, but for me, the more information I can have on the screen, the better. I've seen someone who says turn your health off so you don't mentally know that you're on 1 HP. But I don't think that's a good idea either, because people say, oh, you play differently when you're on 1 HP. Yeah, you do, but I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, not just wide swinging a door because you know you're on 1 HP is quite a sensible thing to do, in my opinion. Audio. Don't need to talk about levels, obviously. The only thing we need to talk about here really is dynamic range. And this is quite difficult to explain. I've actually made a video on this. If you search A. Littleton Siege Audio or something, you'll probably find it on YouTube. But hi-fi is... I'm so bad at... I know what it means, but I'm so bad at explaining, but I'll try and do it. So hi-fi is that there's a different range of volumes for different things in the game, okay? So if you were to reinforce a wall, it would be quite loud, and footsteps would be quite quiet. What these different audio modes do, from hi-fi is the least compressed, so volume here and volume here. TV is a little bit more compressed, so reinforcements are slightly quieter, footsteps are slightly louder, so everything's the same volume nearly. And then night mode is the most compressed, where all sounds in game are like roughly the same volume, roughly. If you have it on TV on hi-fi, gunshots are super loud compared to footsteps. If you put it on night mode, which I think is by far the best, the sound of gunshots is turned down a little bit. The sound of footsteps is turned up a little bit, so everything's level. Because sometimes, if you play it on TV or hi-fi, I feel that gunshots just drown out everything. So you can't hear when someone's walking behind you. You know, on night mode, you're still not going to hear footsteps behind you or someone's firing a gun in your ear. Do you know what I mean? But you've got more chance of it. And I think it explains it here. Making all sounds intelligible, even at low volumes. Most dynamic and least compressed, providing the most clarity between sounds. But it just means that something super loud and... trust me, night mode's the best, and I'll categorically say that. Although, again, it's subjective. I know a pro player that plays on TV, but I don't agree with them. Master R, you don't need to talk about the levels. Set the volume to whatever you want to set it to. And then you've just got choices on, like, do you want to have the HQ voiceover? Like, the 2 operators remaining, or whatever it says that comes on. Like the in-game announcer is a good description of it there. Mono or stereo, that just means do you want the audio for the left side coming through the left and the audio for the right side coming through the right? Or if it's on mono, it's just one audio feed coming into your ears. Never have it on mono, because the whole point of the game is to be able to hear steps to your left and to your right. Mute or unfocus means if you tab out of Siege, does the sound carry on? I don't like that. If I tab out, I don't want to hear Siege as well. There's a reason I've tabbed out. Where your audio is outputted to, your voice chat volume, push to talk, and then your mic volume and your in-game chat volume. Again, all sorts of subjective stuff. Now we start getting stuff that's a little bit more interesting. So, display adapter, obviously that's your GPU. I don't know what that says on console, to be fair. Which monitor you want it going through to? Obviously, we have it on there. I have a 1440p monitor, but set your resolution to whatever you want, obviously, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever your monitor can do. Now, I always used to play full screen. But I don't anymore. I play borderless because with streaming, I have to tab out and move people in Discord and tab out and change something and change a song. And full screen tabbing out since I've had this new monitor is like, it takes about 5 seconds to tab out and like 5 seconds to tab back in. It takes forever. And I always thought you get less frames on borderless. I've started playing on borderless. I can tab in and out dead easy, and I've not noticed any drop in frames since I've had this new PC. So shout out to Overclockers Intel UK for sorting the new PC. Don't have to say that, but I'm grateful to them, so I'll say it. So aspect ratio, I always play on 4:3. This just means, someone told me that I explained aspect ratio poorly. It means that what the resolution of the screen will be stretched, or basically you play stretched or not stretched. 16:9 is standard. And then 5:3 is a little bit stretched, 6:10 is a little bit more stretched, 3:2 is a little bit more stretched, 4:3 is more stretched, and then it goes to 5:4. 4:3 is, I never used to play old CS, which is where 4:3 usually comes from. But when I ever play on 4:3, it feels better. It looks a bit weird because people are a bit, the characters are a bit wider. But when I've tried going back and playing 16:9, I can't do it. VSync, I don't know what that means. I think it locks the frame rate to your monitor's refresh rate. I don't ever use it. FPS limit, I don't have. Widescreen letterbox, the render will, you can play in 16:9, but like make it, like an old cinema when you'd have black bars across the top and bottom. I play on 84 FOV. I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why. I think I searched a Siege settings video when I started playing 6 years ago, and someone said play on 84 FOV because it's optimum. Like with playing 4:3, you play on 84 and it's like an optimum ratio. I don't know. I just play 84 and it feels good. I know people that play 90, but I wouldn't be able to play on 90. You know what? I probably wouldn't even notice the difference, but I would know that it's not set to 84. This is the HUD display area I was talking about before, where you can you can see the markers moving around the edge. You can do the same with the menu as well. I have them on still on 100. I play slightly brighter as well. I play 55. I just think it just brightens dark spaces a little bit, but it makes light spaces not too bright, if you know what I mean. I do that on almost every game I play, to be honest. I turn the brightness up slightly. Graphics. This is where I haven't really got a clue what I'm talking about, but I know what the best settings are. So I'm not technical at all. I couldn't tell you what anti-aliasing is, and I couldn't tell you what ambient occlusion is, but I know what the best settings are, so just hear me out. Go on your graphics settings and put your overall quality to low, okay? Then, texture quality, whatever your GPU can handle. I have it on very high. But you can still have your textures on low. Then, next one is LOD, level of detail. You want that all the way up. You want to be able to see all the detail of everything you need to. Then you want shadow quality. I have that all the way up as well. People say that it doesn't matter whether you have shadows on medium or shadows on very high. But if you look at the amount of capacity it takes up on your GPU, from medium as 4, it's an extra 30 megabytes of GPU space, or someone technical is going to tell me I've said that wrong. Then you want to come down, ignore everything else after shadows until you get down to render scaling and TAA sharpness. I have that on 100 and 100. When you set it to low, it'll go to 50/50. So that the graphic settings I've used for the last 6 years. And again, I feel like you can still see all the detail you need to. It takes out the crap you don't need, excuse me French, but you still get the best performance. So set it to low to start with, then change textures to whatever your GPU can handle. I like it still looking good, so I have it on very high. LOD on ultra, and then shadow quality on ultra. And then, people say medium. Sorry, not LOD. Shadow, people say put it on medium because the shadows aren't any better on ultra than they are on medium, and you get a few extra FPS. I'm not bothered about having 5 extra FPS. And then, 100 at the bottom. I promise you, in my experience, and again, I suppose it's subjective. People might say, well, I don't mind getting 40 less frames because I want the gun skins to look a bit cleaner. And again, it's subjective. This is the best for me in terms of performance and still looking good. Controls. Now, this is where I'm a bit weird. And again, I'll try and explain this as best I can. Make sure you put raw input off because there's something weird that happened with that about 2 years ago. I don't know if it's fixed, but it messed your sense up a little bit. I don't like having it on. So, my sense, I play 400 DPI and I play 82 cents. Now, there's a reason for this. My multiplier in the game files I've changed. So where most people's sense would be 0 or 1 to 100, and 100 would be like insanely fast. I've changed my multiplier in the game files so that 1 to 100 is actually the equivalent of going from 1 to 10 there. So if I was to set my sense to 55, that would actually be 5.5 on the normal multiplayer. The reason I've done that is because I used to think, when I first started playing, I've changed a little bit now. I used to think that 7 cents was too slow and 8 cents was too high. So someone told me about this multiplier where you could set it to 75 and that would be the equivalent of 7.5. And that I did that with 8. I wanted to play between 8 and 9 and I had my sense set to 85 for ages. I've since turned it down to 82. However, I think if I took that multiplier out and I just played 8-8, which would be obviously here, I don't think I'd notice any difference these days. I think I could play on 8-8 with the normal multiplier. But having the multiplier the way I do, it means you can sort of fine-tune your sense a little bit. So, you know, if you wanted to be, if you thought 7 was too slow and 8 was too fast, you could put it on 75, and that would be the equivalent of 7.5 on the normal multiplier. So maybe I'll make a video on how to change your multiplier one day. It's dead easy. It's just in the game files. I'm sure if you search change siege sense multiplier, there's a million videos for it. But it would mean tabbing out of this, opening up the game files and trying to show you. Mouse ADS sensitivity. This is the normal 50-50 sense ADS sense since it got changed in Shadow Legacy. So I keep that pretty standard. But if you Google R6 Shadow Legacy sense converter, this will show you what it is. But that's what I play. Again, sense is all subjective anyway. There's no, oh, this is the best sense, that's the best sense. No one's the same. I don't like it when people say, oh, I'm going to try Shiko sense. No, try whoever you are sense. So just go into the shooting range and go to the one where the dummy stands still. Look away from the dummy and try and flick onto the dummy. And if you're going past the dummy each time, your sense is too fast. And if you're not getting close enough to the dummy, your sense is too slow. And just do that 20 times and see whether you go past or before each time. And you can figure out what your sense is from there. And then try it in game and then tweak it slightly from there each way. I think most people play on too high sense. I think most people do. Mouse scroll, don't use the scroll wheel at all. Gadget deployment and drone deployment. Always have gadget and drone deployments on advanced. It's a way better way of playing the game. It's a bit like the drone settings we talked about earlier. Now, this is where I'm a bit weird, right? I play hold lean. So when I lean, I have to hold Q or E and keep holding it. And when I let go, then I stop leaning. Most people play toggle lean. So when you press Q or E, you lean, and then you'll stay leaning that way until you press it again, or until you lean the other way, or until you sprint. They're all the settings I have. Sprint, hold, crouch toggle, prone toggle, walk hold. They're all pretty standard. This is controller options. I never changed any of them because I've never played on controller. And wait, wow, I've never really ever looked at this, and I didn't realize there was this. Oh my God, I've never scrolled down to this menu, like to this far down. Look at all this. ADS acceleration ramp up time. While aiming down the sights and the stick used for the camera input is at maximum, set how long it takes for the ADS V and horizontal acceleration to reach full strength. Jesus wept. Right, so there's a lot of settings there. I can't believe how much there is to tweak. That's insane. Look, whatever controller settings, if you're on console, set them up wherever you want. Privacy, you can change your nickname. I don't actually agree with this at all. I don't think everyone should have access to changing your streamer name because it makes it more difficult to find out who's toxic in game. I think you should have to apply to Ubisoft to link your Twitch channel to show that you stream, and then you get access to change your name, in my opinion. Because it ends up being people who are known toxic people change the name each game and then be toxic under a different name. I don't think it should be available for everyone. And I'm not saying that as like a privileged streamer, but I think if you want to use streamer mode, you should have to be a streamer to change your streamer mode and to not hide behind a name. But then there is to argue with myself here, there's then the other aspect of it, that if someone's got a name as their normal account name that would get like harassed for whatever their account name is, why can't they just change their name? But I suppose it goes both ways now I think about it. I think I've just had an argument with myself. Other privacy settings, like you can hide your matchmaking queue if you're streaming. A lot of this to do is to try and help streamers not get stream sniped. Accessibility, again, to be honest, this is all subjective. I don't like people, well, not I don't like people, I don't like it when people have the friendly team in red and the opposing team in blue. They do it because like things like a Rooney Gates and Claymore lasers are easier to see, but it freaks me out when I see that someone's got like the friendly teammates as red. I feel like someone's just opened Honestly, I feel like I'm getting broken into here. I'm sure I keep hearing that door open, but nobody should be in. Chat scale, how big the all chat is down in the bottom right. And you've got stun VFX and accessibility. Stun VFX and white glow. Interesting. Now, one we haven't spoke about yet is motion blur. No, not motion blur. Wait, what's the setting? There's a new setting that got changed. Screen shake you don't want on. Motion blur. Is it? No, what? Wait a minute, folks. There's a new setting that... Is it on display? There's a new... Right, hold the phone. It's got to be an accessibility. It must be motion blur. It must be on motion blur. Turns off blur for movement and damage. Yeah, that's right. It's motion blur. It is motion blur. So, motion blur used to make... When you get shot, it used to make your screen go blurry. And it still can if you have it on. If you turn motion blur off, when you get shot, your screen goes darker instead. I do think, again, a bit like the stun VFX, I think that is easier to play with if you can get used to it. I tried it to turn it off and went into a... I tell you what, you know what? Leave it on. That's standard. Let's go and show you what it means. Training, map training, target drill. Let me go and show you what it does. And I can show, because it's hard to explain, but that feels super loud. We're not in a rush, are we? Let's go and show you what we do. I'll just pick any operator and I'll just run in. Let's pick Ash. I'll run in and show you what it does. Basically means that instead of your screen going blurry when you get shot, your screen goes dark instead. I really wish you could hide that thing on the left-hand side. Like, it's just way too big. I get why it's there, because it tries to show people like where to go, but I should be able to turn that off if you know the maps. Alright, bear with me. So if I stand here now, my screen will go blurry when I get shot. See how the screen's going blurry? Why can't anyone hit me? Right, see how the screen's going blurry because I'm getting shot? If I turn that off, the screen will go dark instead. Right, let me go stop getting shot. Stop shooting me. Okay, now shoot me. You see how the screen isn't going blurry now? When they can actually shoot me. See how I'm not getting shot? Like, the screen isn't going blurry anymore. It's just going slightly darker. That actually is nowhere near as dark as it used to be. That's way better. So again, let me go back in. Then it'll go light again. Let me turn that back on. I might start using that actually. Put motion blur back on. Go and get a shot again, and it'll go blurry again. It's actually way better when that's off, isn't it? I didn't realise it was that much different. Okay, I just changed the setting myself. Motion blur off. That's way better, isn't it? That's way better. It's way better having motion blur off than it is having motion blur on. Return to menu. Confirm quit mission. I've just decided. I've changed the setting during the video live. So settings are all about, man. Try them out. So yeah, accessibility for me, motion blur goes off. When it's on, it goes super blurry when you get shot. But if you turn it off, the screen just dims a little bit, and I think that's way easier. There we go. Settings all done. That's what I play. Look, I'm not going to say to you that I've seen videos where people are like, oh, you've got to use these settings. If you don't use these settings, you're throwing. Whatever works for you and makes you feel comfortable is the best thing that you can set your settings to without sounding super cheesy and like diplomatic. If you're more comfortable with setting 1 over setting 2 and you play better with setting 1 over setting 2, use setting 1 all day and tell the people who are telling you use setting 2 to clear off. Whatever feels comfortable for you. I do weird stuff on keybinds. Like I don't have my gadget button on clicking the mouse button in. I have my gadget button on X. I have prone on Z. That's weird, but it's comfortable for me. So do whatever you feel is comfortable. I'm just showing you what I do and sort of a little bit of guidance to say, I think this is the best way of doing things, in my opinion. And you're well within your right to go, no, bald man, that's not the best way for me. Anyway, that's enough waffling. Thanks as always for getting involved with the video and clicking on it. I'm absolutely adamant no one's made it this far through this video. If you have, let's ring the bell. And comment ring the bell if you've made it this far. Don't forget, if you want to support any further, you can. There's links in the description below. I appreciate you just watching it, so don't ever feel compelled that you have to. The Charm is out now as well. Somehow, I always say this, I'm not quite sure how I've ended up in this position, but thanks to people like you who've watched this video, if anyone's watching at this point still. Yeah, I've got a charming game. Sub on Twitch. You only got to sub once. You can use Twitch Prime. It's on your account forever. And I have been told that it will increase your KD by 0.3, is what people have told me. I can't confirm. Although my KD has gone up this season, so maybe that's true. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time. Cheers.